Welcome back to another episode of the Minsan Football Show. It's been a while since we've had one of these, but as you know, whenever there is a game week approaching up and there is a lot of games to talk about, we will have another episode of the Minsan Football Show. So I think it's our 14th episode, and yeah, a lot to talk about because finally we have games once again in the Philippine Football League. So I'll be your host for tonight, Diego Cordero, and alongside me, to my side, not actually beside me, but it's Jing Hamlang and Natasha Alquiros Dato. How are you doing? I'll start with Jing. How are you doing? It's been a while since we've got to have a conversation.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Yeah, Diego, it's been a while. Excited to be back talking about the Philippines Football League and all things Philippine football. So great to be on the show again. Unfortunate that there have been some postponements, but it was out of our control. So uh, control the controllable, so to speak. And it's great that we have this opportunity to talk again and get excited for more PFL matches.
And Natasha, how are you doing this past few weeks?
I'm good, but yeah, as Jing said, been missing the PFL. It's been a while since we've had really a full weekend of games, so excited to see how all the teams pan out to be during the second round, most especially as the second round is about to start and kick in.
Okay, so there you have it. You already alluded to it, Natasha, but we have games this weekend. We actually have a lot of games over the next 7 days. I think we have a record 7 games that are going to be played in a week, and not only going to be played in Rizal, but we have games in Cebu as well. So excited for this month of February. So before we move on, I just want to give a special thank you to our drinks partner, Thirst Kickoff Savings with this football season and use PFL 2025 on the Thirst app for discounts. Once again, Thirst is the Philippines' only beverage marketplace. Download the Thirst wherever you get your apps today. Again, thank you to our sponsors, Thirst. Now, a lot to talk about in this episode of the Minsan Football Show, but first things first, we one match day or one it wasn't a match day. It was a match day, I guess. One match day in January, the lone match day where we had three matches. And yeah, because of that match day, you see the way the league table is panning out as we see a last minute edit here. But the league table, this is what it looks like at the moment. Not too much change. Of course, we only had one match day, but I mean, it's such a tightly knit table, and I think Jing, this is what makes this PFL season so exciting. You can see the amount of points from top it's 9 points. That's okay. That's a lot, but it means that the upper echelon of the PFL table it's more condensed than we're used to seeing, Jing.
Yeah, it's 3 points from first and fourth, and 9 points from first and sixth. That's not a lot. I mean, you say it's a lot of points, but I mean, it's really just 3 games, right? You can overcome that if a team goes on a slide and another team goes on a run. And when you're talking about a championship round as well, that we're going to see in the third round, where these top six teams will go up against each other on a weekly basis, then the turnover and the leapfrogging and how the standings will move will chop and change quite a bit, in my opinion. So this is anybody's league. The way this is going to pan out is really difficult to predict. So it's exactly what you want. You want a bit of unpredictability in the league, and we're getting that in this 2025-26 season.
Yeah, Natasha. Moving on to you, how exciting is it? As a former player, to see a league table, in this manner, where anyone can really leapfrog anyone if you get that crucial 3 points over your rival, or over any other. Actually, to be honest, any game really would put you in a good position if you get 3 points because that's how tightly knit the table is. So yeah, what are your thoughts on the league table as of now, Natasha?
Yeah, I think that it's been the most exciting that the PFL has been in a very long time. You have seven very competitive teams. From one to seven, you'll never know the results. Deloitte can be a wild card once in a while, and of course, teams are still building up towards this second round, and that's exactly what you want from your league, and that's how your players get better. The more competitive the league is, the more competitive games you're playing, week in and week out, then everyone plays better. And of course, it's better for the league, it's better for the fans. So it's shaping up to be a really good PFL season.
Could I just add
Yeah.
something, Diego?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You know what's very exciting that Natasha pointed out is that seventh spot as well is going to be something to keep an eye on as this league develops. Who is going to miss out from the top six? That's going to be a great battle in and of itself. So, you know, there are plenty of things to look forward to, how things are going to finish at the top of the table, but also making it into the top six is going to be a great race. And yeah, I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, and there you see a little who is gonna miss out on the top six because you have seven sort of teams that want to make it to the championship round that can beat anyone else. I'd say in the top six, and then one of them is gonna miss out and have to play the third round against other teams in the classification round. So one of these teams is gonna take a really big hit come the third round. But there you have it. That's how the league table is for now. Again, um, a lot of these teams they're not in even games played, but eventually down the road, I'm sure there will come a time in the season where all the teams will have played the same amount of games, and then you can look at the table really directly to see who is in the best position. So that's how things shape up for now. That is the PIFA standings before our match week end and also our midweek matches next Wednesday. So there you have it. Now, moving on to the next portion of our episode tonight. I believe this is a something different prepared by our team tonight. Um, something different, but it's still the same voice, unfortunately. But yeah, we have a little bit of a technical analysis that I decided to do and decided to make because of the fact that there were no games for quite some time. And yeah, this was analyzing a game that we called Jing, a game where Tuloy actually beat Mendiola 3-0, and it was through three really good team goals, I must say. So, without further ado, I believe this will at any moment just start playing on screen. And yeah, there you have. Hello, everyone. Diego Cordero here, and welcome to one of my analysis videos for the PFL. So, this is a series of videos. I don't know how many videos where I'll tactically analyze some bits and pieces from previous PFL matches that I found noteworthy. So, today's actually January 24. There are no games this weekend, and that's why I had the idea of passing the time with some videos that talk about some tactical insights from the PFL. So for this video, I'm gonna analyze a little bit of what happened last weekend with Tuloy FC. So for a recap, Tuloy FC beat Mendiola 3-0 to start the new year. So yeah, I want to talk about Tuloy FC for a bit. A team that offers something different compared to all the other teams in the PFL. And yeah, I think it's the idea about tactically speaking, I think it's Tuloy's idea and bravery to play passes or to make passes that aren't so safe. They make these brave but risky passes or brave but risky, set plays or patterns that, sometimes it hurts them. That's why they lose by some big score lines from time to time. But sometimes it works out. And against Mendiola, it worked out. So here's my first image that I kind of want to break down. So this is John Diaz on the ball. He picks up the ball from the center backs, and you see the green arrows are, the passes that most midfielders would make, or the passes that most teams or most coaches would want their midfielders to make. Simple passes, obvious passes, and they're even good passes, I must say. Out wide to try and start an attack. But what John Diaz actually tries to do and does successfully is to make this line breaking pass. You see the red arrow. You see where the referee is standing. Diaz actually tries to find Nunez here on the end of the arrow. He tries to find him with this line breaking pass on the ground, and it actually pays off. You look how tight that lane is, but nevertheless, Diaz has the quality, to make that pass between three Mendiola players and to find his teammate in Nunez. So he doesn't make the obvious and safe pass. He goes for the risky and brave pass, but it pays off. And what actually happens from this is they actually get their first goal from this. So Nunez receives the ball, and in a split second, he makes his pass to the left winger where the green arrow is, and The left winger then gets the ball and he makes the first time pass into the penalty box where there's an on-rushing striker and he makes the first time finish. And this is how Tuloy go 1-0 up. But what's actually very interesting is just a few minutes later, really similar, they get their second goal. So again, player here on Tuloy with the ball in the midfield. There's an obvious pass. The green arrow is the obvious pass. But no, he delays a split second and he makes the risky pass through, again, once again, through the Mendiola midfield to his forward player here where the red arrow is. So he makes that pass once again through the lines. Again, similar to the first goal. Makes that pass through the lines. And guess what? History repeats itself because this player, I'm sorry, I forgot who it is. I didn't screenshot it, but he gets the ball and he makes the pass once again to the on-rushing winger, this time on the right side, who then again is so similar to the first goal. He makes the grounded cross across the face of goal. And once again, like the first goal, it's a tap in. So that's how Tuloy go 2-0 up. A pattern of play that has been well coached, well drilled into them. You can see that, it's been coached into them because it happened more than once. If it happens once, you say, okay, maybe it happened a little bit of a, it happened one off, but no, it happened twice, which means it's a pattern that's been coached, it's been worked on, it's from the training ground. And then right after halftime, again, it happens again. You see, there's a player here. I believe this is Cyril Saot. Look at this pass that he's gonna make. There's no Tuloy player in front of him, but he recognizes the pattern that's about to happen. There's a player on rushing. Look where the player who's running into the space is when the pass is being made. He's nowhere near where the pass will end up, but Cyril Saot has the intelligence to make the perfect weight of pass for this player. I think this is Harry Nunez coming onto the end of this pass. Here's another angle. Look where Harry Nunez is and look where Cyril Saot is. He's gonna play the pass into no one, but he knows that Nunez is making the perfectly timed run into that space from midfield. You can actually see the striker of Tuloy makes a smart rotation as well because he attracts the attention of the left center back of Mendiola, and that just opens up the space for Harry Nunez to get on the end of this pass. And guess what Harry Nunez does? He takes one touch and then he finds the back of the net. And this is how Tuloy goes 3-0 up, and the scoreline stayed that way for the rest of this match. So this is how Tuloy beat Mendiola and got on 6 points. And you can see 3 really well-worked goals, 3 tactically very interesting goals because you can see just how intelligent the Tuloy players are when they are on it. Unfortunately, they couldn't emulate this against better opponents in the first round, but they'll be hoping that after the new year, they started the year well, that when they face the stronger teams once again, they'll be able to pull off better performances compared to the first round. So there you have it. So glad you could join me, Diego Cordero, here for a tactical analysis of Tuloy FC. That has been it for this video. Hope you enjoy, and I will continue to make more of this over the next few weeks while we don't have any PFL action. Take care and
Fantastic, Diego Cordero, young man. Take a bow, sir. Fantastic analysis from one of the best in the business right now, Diego Cordero. Taking the time just because he was bored, guys. He needed something to do. And yeah, it's to all of our benefit and entertainment and furthering all of our knowledge in the game. And, it's fantastic that somebody could take the time to showcase why it is that Tuloy FC has such a following, right? You look at the standings, and maybe they're not as impressive, but it's these moments in the game that really make you ooh and ah when you watch them because they are taking risks, they are being courageous with the ball, and they are getting the benefits of these risks with the fantastic goals and fantastic play that they're able to showcase. John Diaz, who was the first clip, he's 19 years of age, and he's playing these line-breaking passes like that at this level of competition already. Justin Lupango is 23 years of age, had a goal and an assist in this contest, right? So Harry Nunez is already very seasoned at in his early 20s. So again, Tuloy FC is really providing an amazing platform for these players, and sometimes you don't get an opportunity to really appreciate it until somebody like Diego Cordero takes the time and the effort to showcase their skills in such a fashion. So well done, sir. Thank you for that.
thank you for that. Thank you for that, Jing. Natasha, I believe you're muted, but
I'm
you have
on
something to
mute.
say.
Yeah, I said I hope that you continue to create those and those kinds of content that lets you deep dive a bit more into the place. As you mentioned, Tuloy don't always get the wins, but you can see what they're building, the patterns that they're creating. You can see it, how the understanding of the players are, and just they have such a high tactical understanding. And it's so nice that Diago's able to create that short clip of tactical analysis, so it's put on full display for everyone else to see. Sorry, for their whoever they're going against next. Good for them. They have a bit of depth into the way that Tuloy plays, but great job, Diago. We hope you do more of those.
Yeah.
Sorry, lagged ever so slightly, but thank you for those words, Jing and Natasha. So before we move on, just want to give a quick shout out to our comment warriors. We have Clara Manzano, PH Transfers, Ducks, and PFL Bible. Of course, the usual suspects. We also have Diet Fun. So shout out to you guys for being present this evening. A lot of comments actually. I'll come to those in a moment. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us again. Minsan Football Show. We'll have an episode every time there is a match week, and I imagine for the next few weeks, we'll see each other a lot. So yeah, moving on to our next portion of the episode, we have our Minsan Football question of the day. So our main segment really is gonna focus on something that has been brewing, even though there's been no games. The transfer window. We've had a lot of activity over the past few weeks in terms of departures, in terms of arrivals, and a lot of big names have also been going in and around the PFL, whether coming outside the PFL or coming into the PFL from another PFL team. So we also want to give a moment to thank PH Transfers also and PFL Bible for their really good coverage of the transfer window. I've actually, they I find it out before the teams announce it because of these two accounts. So I'm scrolling on my phone and then all of a sudden there's a picture of a transfer, even before the teams have announced it. So shout out to those two. And yeah, we're gonna take a moment to dive deep into the bigger transfers that have happened in the past week or so. So I believe in anytime now we'll have a few flash up on screen, and I'm just gonna take the time to get your reactions. The first one I want to talk about really is the big transfer that has gone on in Kaya FC's title defense January window. They lost Rota, they lost Kenshiro Daniels, and they've lost those two players who have been so huge for them this season. But they've made some pretty good signings as well. So the big, big announcement came a few days ago that I don't know how you pronounce his name, but Julius Mirbach is going to come into the PFL. So this is someone that apparently was playing at a really high level and not so long ago was being touted as a future striker of the Philippine men's national team because he is Filipino Norwegian. Jing, I want to start off with you. Kaya have signed a really good striker, and I believe that you might have one or two insights about this, especially given the stature of this type of signing.
It's a position that they really needed to fill, and they've made a statement in bringing on Julius Mirbach, who is a player that, as you alluded to, was on the radar of the national team. He's played at a good level in Europe, and is still a young man and is eager to prove himself at this level. And he's looking for an opportunity for Filipino fans to get to know him, right? And what a fantastic platform to do that in one of the most in the most recognizable team at the moment, with the defending champions, with a huge hole to fill where he could come in and really start impressing with players around him that could provide him great service. Right, you have players like Shuto Komaki, who is back. You have Mike Ott, who is there, who could thread passes into him. Janjan Meliza out on the wing. It's a fantastic setup where what it has really been lacking is just that killer, that finisher up top. and they really need somebody to bang in the goals, and they're hoping that Julius Mirabak is going to be the guy. But you know, he is promising, yes, to say that he is the finished article and he's going to definitely deliver. Well, that's not a certainty, right? Even if you are extremely talented, you still have to adjust to the Filipino game and to the surface and to the weather, right? Norway is very cold. You're coming here to a hot and humid climate. It has different effects on different players. So we really don't know what it's going to be like for him until he gets that opportunity to showcase his talents when the games come thick and fast. And I think he's got a great first game coming up, which will give him an opportunity to bed in to the Kaya system. But yeah, definitely very exciting. But you don't want to hype him up too much because yeah, we don't know what to expect really yet. But I've seen some highlights and they're pretty good.
They are pretty good indeed, I must say. Natasha, just a quick thoughts on Kaya. They always seem to whenever people are saying, oh, they might be in a bit of trouble, they might lack a bit of depth, and then they pull off a signing like this. And Kaya's renowned for doing that. Do you think that puts them in a really good position again, once again, to defend their championship?
Yeah, that's as just to add to what Jing said, they definitely needed a striker or a finisher, and let's see if he can be one of the pieces in for Kaya. For me, the biggest bummer for I'll go the opposite way for one of the players that are that's no longer in with Kaya would be Gavin Muans. I think that he was a fantastic player for Kaya FC, and I think that that's a big loss for them, especially with the position that he plays. And so for me, let's see also how they beef up their midfield. They still haven't named I think all their signings, but let's see how their new signings will integrate with their team. And of course, as you mentioned as well, Shuto Komaki B, it's like he was signed again because we missed him the whole first round. He played I think the first 2 or 3 games before he got injured. So it's definitely refreshing to see um, the way that he attacks. It really translated with their game against Maharlika. He was such a dangerous player all throughout that match. And with Kai also, the other interesting thing that they have is that besides the players that they signed, they also have their coaching staff who are former PFL players that are now turning in the reins and to add to their coaching staff with the likes of Alfred Osei, of course, and Baba Sampanya. So you also have former PFL players now turned coaches and giving back to the same game and the same tournament that they played in.
There you have it. Kaya are gonna have a chance to flex their muscles this Saturday. We'll get more on that later. Another big transfer that happened within the past few weeks or so, actually a return. We've had a lot of returns also in this PFL transfer window, but one of the biggest ones for sure, Stefan Schrock. He's back once again to want the gig. This was something that, as I mentioned, PH transfers and PFL Bible, I found it out through their socials, but well, there you have it. He's moved back to Want the Gig. He was there, of course, in the 2024 season. And yeah, the Want the Gig are in a really good position, even without the signing. They now have Stefan Schrock to add to their PFL title race. Jane, do you think this is a bit overpowered to have the likes of Schrock, Hartman, Reichel, Sato, Asperas in one team?
I don't think it's ever a bad thing to have a lot of talent. It's a challenge for the coach in how you juggle that. And if you're able to do it well, then you are able to reap the rewards of all of that talent. Stefan Schrock is a great player, and I think he's shown that he has still the capability to be so difficult to mark, to unlock defenses, and to provide these killer balls to the players up top, and to create chances of his own. However, 90 minutes has seemed to be a little too much for him, right? The record, I mean, the numbers show that him finishing 90 minutes has been very rare as of late. So to have Stefan Schrock, let's say, on your bench as a super sub to finish the game with 20 minutes to go, when you need to chase the result or to finish off an opponent, you couldn't ask for more than that. I mean, that is about as talented a player as you can bring on in the Philippines right now. So what a signing for Taguig. However, it comes with a little bit of a challenge, right? If you are unable to provide Stefan Schrock with a role that he is happy with, could it sow some discontent within the squad? You never know, right? So it's going to be a juggling act. And, with Scott Cooper gone, there is a responsibility and a big weight on the shoulders of the man who is in charge now.
But just to add to that, of
Yeah,
course,
definitely.
with
Go ahead. Go ahead.
the depth of the depth of the squad of one Taguig, I feel that they have made smart signings if they can just manage the minutes of the players, the egos and the minutes. Because the older you get, the bigger the ego. We're not gonna lie about that. But if you're able to manage your team properly and get the most of these players, oh, who knows what one Taguig can do? And then you match that off again with a young signing of Aspiras, putting him in a team, a young player, yup, a young up and coming, and you put him alongside the likes of Aldeguer. So now you have young up and coming players and also seasoned players. And if you can just manage the squad properly, I really think that they do have such a good title contending opportunity.
Go ahead, Jing.
Thanks for calling me teacher. Diego Aspiras, I'm a big fan of him. I think he's a bit underrated in his ability to pass the ball. Yes, he's got a bit of a temperament that perhaps is very expressive, body language wise, on the field. But I think he's got a lot of quality, and he's a young talent, right? He's not a finished product. So if you can nurture him, he could be a player with a very high ceiling. So Diego Asperas is definitely a player that I'm excited to see get an opportunity to showcase himself at One to Gig.
There you have it. And of course, One Gig, they won't be playing this weekend, I believe, but they have a big, big game next week against Aguila. So it will be a chance for us to see how they gel together. Now, a lot of people were concerned also when the transfer window began to see so many departures from a certain team. So Dynamic Herb Cebu, they lost Ledel Amarul, they lost Rico Andes. They lost certain players that you might have said, oh no, this might stop the momentum in the league. And then they announced three really good signings, in my opinion. So the first one is, or the first two actually, are returnees. So we have the return of Oglu, the center back, and the return of Gutierre, the midfielder. So there you see it on screen. They're actually playing right now. I believe the scoreline is not that favorable at the moment, but yeah, they're gelling together as we speak. So we have Demiroglu, we have Gutierre, and we also have who looks to be a really good player. We have Kaito Asano, a Japanese forward who has been given the number 10 shirt right away following the departure of Rico Andes. For I'll start with Natasha because I want to get her insights in this. Natasha, is it a bit dangerous for a team to have a little bit too much of chopping and changing in a January window, or is it a case of needs must at the moment and we need more depth if you're Cebu?
Well, Cebu have mentioned that there are a lot of players that were let go. I'll start first with the negative, then we go on to the positive. I think that though they do have three returning players, two returning players, and three good signings, the problem is that local players that they lost, they're Filipino players that they lost. That's for me the big problem in the picture, that how are they going to replace these players? As we mentioned, the likes of Andes, Ladel, Borlongan. These are key players in their team, the usual starters. And especially Andes and Ladel, these are two players that find the back of the net consistently, almost week in, week out. So you can keep adding your foreign based players, but how about your local players? What are you doing to replace those? Or is this the opportunity for the other players in their lineup to step up and to take up a bigger role with the likes of, let's say, Leo Makiling? Is this going to be his time to shine, to take on a bigger role and to step up to the plate now that these players have been taken out of the team? But when you talk about the other thing about beefing up your squad, Of course, it does have its pros and cons. Most especially, let's say with the likes of Aguilas, Stallion, and Cebu at this moment, during this moment in time. Because in one case you're worried about team chemistry and the continuity. So and then but of course if you're taking a look at the bigger picture, to have that squad depth and rotation will definitely play a key factor, especially now that moving forward we're going to have more of those weekday games, and so shorter rest periods. So if you're able to fully rotate your squads, then that's helpful. But of course you're going to have to check, can they get into in sync as quickly as possible as the second round is about to start.
There you have it. Uh, Jane, do you think Cebu are still in a good position, to maintain a spot, in the top three, and yeah, even mount a title race while also playing in the Shopee Cup and playing a lot of games in a short period of time?
I'm a fan of Cebu's and the development they've had over the last few years. The way they've been able to make themselves from outsiders to contenders so quickly has been truly impressive. However, I must say, rather bluntly, that losing Liddell, Amirul, and Des, I can't see it being a positive. You're looking at players that potentially could have been the core of your team being removed in the middle of a season where you were just starting to ramp up and starting to showcase that you were a solid group that still had fight in it. Now you have to regroup and essentially start from scratch again. Yes, you have two games in the Shopee Cup, but Shopee Cup games are going to be different, right? You're not gonna have a lot of the ball. You're gonna be defending a lot in a low block. You could potentially be on the wrong side of a very bad scoreline, right? Difficult to gauge how this will impact these players in this squad. So for me, stability is key, right? It's difficult when you look at these other teams make a lot of chopping and changing, and to feel as if they're going to be able to pick up results with consistency. How can you find consistency when the squad is unsettled? It's difficult, right? And yes, it's promising that some of these players are back, particularly Gutierrez, who I thought was quite a decent prospect, not just for Cebu, but for the national team. Eventually, a very physical, well built, and technical midfielder. However, Rico Andes is such a big miss, in my opinion. I think Noel Liddell is such a big miss. And you have question marks around the others, right? So yeah, what promised to be a great finish, or what was a great finish to the first round, has essentially been thrown into the wind. And which way the wind blows, we don't know yet, right? So, in my opinion, it's a huge gamble, and perhaps a risk that was forced upon Cebu. But yeah, I'm not a fan of it. And if I was a fan of Cebu, I would be worried right now.
Just one thing to add, just
There you
one
have it.
small thing. If
Go
there's
ahead, go
one
ahead.
positive, if there's one positive about all of like how the second round is about to start, is that Cebu are gonna have a lot of more home games. So that's one positive to add. So despite losing a couple of players, couple of key players, what they did gain is they're gonna have that home advantage. And playing in Cebu is not an easy task, not at all, especially with their fan base that has been very vocal of their support for them. They really shake on that home atmosphere and make it uncomfortable for the opposing teams to visit. So that's one thing that's definitely going in Cebu's way coming into the second round.
Yep, yep. They will be hosting a lot of their home games, and they'll be hosting the first one next Wednesday. More on that later. But still on Cebu, or rather, still connected to Cebu, JP Borlongan and Charles Dabao have jumped ship from Cebu to direct rivals in Manila Digger. But the thing is with Manila Digger, they're making two good signings, but as of the moment, I still think they've retained everyone. So are they quietly, having the best window because they're keeping together their squad that has put them in this good position, and they're adding players like Dabao and Borlongan who have been really good for Cebu. Jing, I want to start off with your thoughts of Manila Digger at the moment, because at the moment, I think they'll be really happy, maybe even the happiest about everyone in this window.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Diego. They've kept everything intact. Plus, they've added two really good pieces, right? And with a season that is a little bit longer, it's unpredictable who will and will not be fit to finish the season. But if you have quality players that you can rely on to fight for places and also be replacements if necessary, then you have a good formula for success. So I'm a big fan of this. JB Borlongan is a good player, hasn't been getting the minutes. And if you give him an opportunity, he often impresses. And yeah, and Charles Davao, he's been underrated for a long time as well. I think he's quietly gone about his business. People underestimate him, and even in big games and key matchups, he's got that fight and that dog in him that makes him difficult to get past. So I think he's a great addition and adds to the mentality of Manila Digger as well.
Yeah, I want to get it from Natasha as well. Natasha, they're the only team that's still yet to lose in the PFL. How important is it, for a title challenging side to make sure that you get your January window 100% correctly? And do you think that's exactly what Manila Digger are doing at the moment?
Well, yeah, just to add on to what Jing said, it's very short. The only thing I'm going to add is that the way Manila Digger has approached this transfer window and the one to the start of the season is that they're about quality over quantity. So they're very specific about their signings and it's more intentional. You feel that, especially with getting the local players, they know how to pick and choose just a couple that they need in certain positions, and the way that they're able to, as Jing has already mentioned, retain majority of their squad, it could be a good build up for the second round and moving forward to the third as well.
So there you have it. Just want to give a small last bit of transfer highlights here. Stallion, they've also had a lot of chopping and changing going on for this window. There's no more Michael Kedman, so that's going to be a problem. Of course, we already mentioned Schrock is out, but out of nowhere, they've signed a goalkeeper in Yusuf, but what's 31 caps for his national team? I don't think any other goalkeeper in the PFL will be able to say that for quite some time. Joke, joke. I remembered another goalkeeper just now, but anyway, Yusuf, but he has replaced Jack Landers as the number one of Stallion. Is it a bit of a problem that you have to change your number one goalkeeper in the middle of a season, Jing? Although, would you also say that if you change your number one, this would be the type of goalkeeper you'd get?
Yeah, I think it's a worthy replacement. That's for sure. He's got a great CV. However, I don't think goalkeeper was a problem position for Stallion
Yeah.
in the first round. So I'm not really overwhelmed by it. I'm not really moved by the signing because I feel like Stallion have made changes, so many changes. In fact, I'm not quite sure how to put my finger on it. Like, I'm not sure how to feel because you were starting to build something. It looked promising. You didn't quite get the finished product you were looking for. However, I saw the seeds of what could have been something great, and now they're starting from scratch again. So again, it's about lost momentum, and it's a gamble, it's a risk, and we don't know how it's going to play out until they start hitting the field.
Yeah, there you have it. Really good goalkeeper coming into the PFL. Natasha, just want to get your thoughts on goalkeeper signing when a lot of fans will argue that they didn't really need to address that position in the first place.
Well, what I heard was that Landreth was leaving, and that's why they got a new goalkeeper. So, I mean, if you're gonna replace your goalkeeper, the best you can do is, of course, is level up. But in total, just the number of Stallion signings and players leaving, you really can't keep up. And eventually, that will all boil down to, especially how they were playing in that first round, will be the team morale and the management of minutes. Because you could have good players, but they're just not getting enough minutes for you to be able to see the best in those players. And that's why it happens more often than not that after leaving Stallion, these players somewhat eventually shine for other clubs. So I think more than anything, they just need to figure out who their starting 11 is and give those players more minutes so that they can really build in the team chemistry.
Okay, well, there you have it. Um, that's about it for our transfer for this episode tonight. More activity that we were unable to discuss, but we will be able to discuss those in a future episode. So that's been the transfer segment for tonight's um, episode of the Meets and Football Show. So thank you for your thoughts, Jing and Natasha. Moving on to our weekend games. So it's been a while since we've had games in the weekend to be played. Starting off with our Saturday games, I believe. Let me get it on screen. We have three games on Saturday. The first being KFC Iloilo against Don Bosco. The second being Tuloy versus Army, and the last one being One Taguig versus Maharlika. I think this is a really good way to get the season back up and running after an impromptu break. First two matches. I want to get your thoughts. Or first match, sorry. First match, Kaya versus Don Bosco Grelli. Jing, Natasha, I just want to get your quick thoughts. Do you think anything out of the ordinary is going to happen here, or will it be business as usual for Kaya? I'll start with Natasha.
It could be business as usual, but what's exciting for the Garelli team is that they did have two new signings as well, or they could have had even more. But a former UAP player from UE, Jerome Abarca, is now going to be playing for Garelli. So that's definitely a boost for the side of Garelli that need players that are already in shape, that have been playing week in and week out. It's just collegiate level. So now it's to be able to test himself as well on the professional scene, and for the likes of Ian Eddy as well to be able to get more minutes playing for the side of Garelli. For Kaya, it is a good chance, as we've mentioned. They do have new signings. It's a chance for them to integrate those players and to gain that confidence going against one of the teams that are part of the bottom four. So it's easier also to integrate in a team when you can build your confidence slowly.
Yep, yep. Jing, for you, anything, any plot twists in this game, or do you think this is going to go one way?
Yeah, it's. I don't think we're going to see too many surprises in terms of result. However, this is an opportunity to see what Kaya is planning for the second round moving forward. Who's going to occupy which positions? Who's going to be favored in what roles? Right. And then we're going to get an insight now to what the plan is moving forward. And for Garelli, yeah, we're going to get a chance also to witness what they're going to be about because we haven't had really a chance to see what they've been cooking over the course of the break. It's been a long time since we've seen them in action. I'm excited to see, hopefully some improvement on their part, both tactically and in terms of their squad.
Yeah, more on this fixture. We're gonna enter the point of the season now where teams have actually played each other before. So when Kaya and Don Bosco met in the first round, it ended 7-1 in favor of Kaya. However, this next game hasn't been played yet this season. I believe it was one of the games canceled by a typhoon, but it's gonna be Tuloy versus Philippine Army. Now, for me, this might be a potential, good game to watch because one would favor Tuloy, but it could be a type of match where Philippine Army they've not had a good 2025. They want to get 2026 started on a better note. I think this is one of the more favorable matches you could get in the PFL if you're Philippine Army. Is this gonna be a chance for Philippine Army to spring a surprise, Jing?
I think you've downplayed it a little bit here. It's not just a game to look forward to. It's one of the most exciting matches of the first round, actually. In fact, I was super bummed when it was postponed initially because I was really looking forward to seeing who got the better of who in this game. Philippine Army have really struggled in this season, but when you look at it on paper, they've beaten Tuloy in the past, right? You're up against boys and you're men, grizzled men of the armed forces who should feel like maybe we could bully these guys. You guys want to make it into a nice tiki taka game. You guys want to make it a technical affair. Rubbish, right? Let's go smash them. That's what I want to see from Philippine Army. And it's the perfect scenario for Tuloy, right? This is what you went to the PFL for. Can you overcome grown men who perhaps are less technical than you? Could you showcase your skill? All right, overcome them with your ability, right? So it's set up perfectly for the fans to see who gets the better of who in that kind of scenario, right? Is it going to be skill over brawn, right? Technique over physicality, right? It's time to see. I see it personally as a fantastic opportunity for Philippine Army to pick up points and potentially even 3 points. So this could be it, right? This is basically their final right now. It would be embarrassing for Philippine Army to lose to these young boys because that's who they are, right? They're potential. They shouldn't be able to beat you. So yeah, it's a matter of pride for Philippine Army, and I hope it turns out to be a great game.
I just want to add as well that for
For
Philippine
sure.
Army,
Go ahead. Go
the
ahead.
sign was made. Well, of course, you only heard this from the PH transfer in PFL Bible, but that Sapal from Aguilas Yumac will be playing for Philippine Army. So that's a good boost for the side of Philippine Army. However, for the side of Deloy, they've also added more players to their roster as well. Again, another player from UE, this time Tambilawan, is a goalkeeper that was signed by Deloy, as well as the likes of Vergara, and their coach was now coming in as a playing coach, I'm assuming, rather than just a player. But so it's also a good chance for Tuloy to test out how they're able to integrate more players into their roster.
And there you have it, UAP to PFL. It's a bridge that is being crossed more and more often in this transfer window. I hope it continues as a trend. So shout out to the UAP players also that have made the jump to the pro level. I believe, side note, I also follow Tambilawan's Facebook page. Yeah, that's quite a following also in terms of his vlogs that he posts. And yeah, you can see some insider stuff there about how to operate plays on the weekend. Moving on to the last match of Saturday. This is the big one for the weekend. It's a match again that already happened before. One Taguig versus Liga. I want to start off with Natasha because I believe when One Taguig actually beat them 1-0, Natasha, you're one of the ones calling this game. Do you think it could be a score now that Maharlika have gotten over that duck of not being able to beat a big team because they've already beaten Stallion?
Well, actually, I think that this game could go 50-50. In terms of, if you base it on the performance so far, you'd say that One Gig have the advantage. But it's been a while since One Gig have played. There could be a bit of rust in there. They haven't had a game this since 2026 started. And for the likes of Maharlika, they did lose to Kaya in their previous matchup, but they did get those minutes in, and they got that full 90 minutes under their belt. So let's see now. Now they have a bigger picture of the adjustments that they've had to make after losing key players into their from their original lineup, going against One Gig for the second round.
Yep, over 2 weeks. Sorry, over 2 months since one Taguig have last played. That's a long time for any team, and for their opponents, Maharlika. I think they didn't have all of the pieces in place yet when they took on Kaya FC, and even then they put up a great fight. So with the additions that they had planned, and Wei Moon Hong, the coach, was talking about these additions. He seemed very excited about the pieces that they were going to be able to put in place. So I'm very, very excited for this game. I think, as you mentioned, Natasha, it's going to be a 50-50. I think it's going to be a greatly competitive match, a very tight contest. And finally, we're going to get an opportunity to see what One Gig is going to be all about in 2026, right? I mean, they are at the moment in first place with a match in hand. So what an opportunity, right? If they could get this win, they could create a bit of separation at the top, and that would be massive for them.
That's right. And of course, for Maharlika, from that first game that we saw, that when they did play against Kaya, if they can just minimize the errors in the back, you feel that it could really be anyone's game between these two squads that are both very and highly competitive.
100%. So definitely a lot of games to look forward to over the weekend on Saturday, and that one in particular going to be a great main event after uh, the what do you call that, the right before the showcase match with Tuloy and Philippine Army. So a great match, a great set of matches to look forward to on Saturday. Kaya, the opener, the showcase match between Tuloy and Army, and then the main event with One Taguig and Maharlika. Triple header on Saturday. It's great to be back, PFL back in full swing. And of course, Natasha, we're not going to wait long, right? Medyo pinatagal natin yung 2 weeks. So we're only going to wait a few more days, as in midweek, we're going to have a whole bunch of matches as well to look forward to. So plenty to look forward to in the PFL. And I think we're going to have matches again the week after. So, or the weekend after. So what? We're going to get a condensed run of at least, what is that? 9, 10 games in the span of a week. Fantastic. Bego, welcome back.
Welcome back. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't go anywhere, Jing. I was here the whole time. But yeah, I assumed you guys talked about the matches for this weekend already,
Yeah.
and have I heard Jing mentioning that the schedule is going to be condensed because it is absolutely going to be condensed. It's not ideal for these teams, but needs must. And I mean, as a fan, I'm not going to complain. So thank you for taking control for that Wi-Fi problem, Jing. And yeah, I believe that covers everything we need to talk about for the PFL in terms of the PFL. But here, we just want to give a quick shout out to the Futsal Liga that was announced by the PFF. So I think this was a comment also in our show last week, 3 weeks ago, that in the Phil Sports Arena, there's going to be the Futsal Liga. So it's, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a bunch of different leagues that are going to be played there in Phil Sports. So you have men's, women's, intercollegiate, intercity, youth, and corporate. And to put my words in, to put my thoughts in a few words, I just want to say I think it's good to have futsal leagues in one venue, and yeah, the more games that kids and young players can play, the better. That's really it for me. I think the more exposure kids get to playing futsal, yeah, there's no bad thing that can come along with it. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Actually, I want to hear Natasha's thoughts also, because Natasha, if I correct me if I'm wrong, but you also once organized the futsal tournament for the Filipinas that were preparing for the World Cup at the time.
Yeah, that's right. We did. I did host one last year. Of course, it's January. So last year with the Filipino Women's Football Association, and it was our first deep dive into futsal, and you could really feel that there is a lack and that there is a community that's hungry and that just wants to have a venue to be able to showcase their skills and what they're capable of doing. And so with the growth of course hosting the women's World Cup here for futsal in the Philippines the end of last year, and then you add this on for this year, you like to see the growth, the trajectory. or the picture that it's painting, and that we're taking a good interest and an active role in making sure that there will be more opportunities for more players to play and to grow in the sport as well. And another venue for fans to be able to watch. Minsan, kulang pa lang yung mga games natin. So it's also nice that you don't just have to be a fan of football, but we can also learn and to grow more to become futsal fans as well.
Yeah, Jing, any final word on what you think about this new initiative from the organizers to organize more exposure and more tournaments for these young players?
I think it's fantastic that the Philippine Sports Commission and the Philippine Football Federation have come together to make the Phil Sports Arena basically like the home of futsal right now in the country. One of the biggest question marks was what was going to happen after the Women's World Cup, right? How are you going to take advantage of such a monumental event? Right. Well, here's the answer. Right. So we're hoping that futsal is going to become more of a staple in Philippine sports. And what a fantastic initiative, right? To get this started, to get the ball rolling. And you hope that it is something that will continue for a very long time. So fantastic. It's time for us to get on board with futsal, guys.
And also, just speaking of getting the ball rolling, we have the men's league continuously. We also have, as you mentioned, so after hosting the World Cup and the Filipina Five, getting those ventures out, and then now creating opportunities and having the Phil Sports Arena for them to be their home. The women's national team, they also won the gold medal in the Southeast Asian Games. So I hope that the women's league will also start sooner rather than later for this year. Because, come on, we need some women's football games as well.
That's right. That's
Here,
right. Because
here.
we also have the Women's Asian Cup coming up pretty soon, and yeah, we just need more games for everybody at this level, just to help grow the sport that little bit better. Speaking of growing the sport, just want to quickly point out that it was also announced that the PFF are gonna collaborate once again with the PSC to the pitches around the Philippines. So again, nothing can go. Not there's nothing bad about that. That will just help grow the sport altogether. But yeah, so that's
Ah, Jago, what a perfect still frame of you there.
had
Hope we can keep
lately
that
over the
one.
past 1, 2, or I believe 3 weeks.
Sorry, you got stuck there for a moment, Diego. It was a nice picture of you. But yeah, please continue. You were speaking about these pitches that have proliferated or will proliferate around the Philippines. And it's fantastic, and hopefully there will be programs to go and supplement these fields, right? And they are utilized to their maximum capacity. So yeah, Diego.
Yeah.
Oh, go
For those
ahead,
who didn't
Tasha.
announcement, I'll just summarize it a bit. That the PFF did announce that that's something that's definitely that has been lacking in the trajectory and the growth of Philippine football is infrastructure, more venues and places for players to play in. And so they announced three full-size pitches that are on the way, and then nine half-side pitches, and as well as seven artificial mini pitches as well, and of course the FIFA arena and then AFC mini pitches as well in five locations to be announced. So just to add on, of course, this is good. There's nowhere to go but up when you create more places for players to be able to play, and we need that if we really want to continue to grow the game here in the Philippines.
100% agree. And if there is, I don't know, maybe we could shout out to Converge or PLDT or sino bang gusto mag-sponsor? Kay Diego. Pwede na. Pwede niyo na siya i-sponsor. Mukhang nangangailangan si, si Diego kasi ito na naman siya. Oh. Nag-stop na naman si Diego. So we're gonna go ahead. Natasha, it's been fantastic as usual, getting an opportunity to speak about Philippine football and all the fantastic developments that have transpired over the last few weeks. Look forward to calling the games with you over the weekend. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Wala na yan. Committed na yan, ha? We'll see you on Saturday. At least we hope so anyway. Diego has been a fantastic host and provided us with incredible analysis earlier today. Yeah, he's not going to be able to say goodbye, unfortunately. So I will on his behalf. Oh, no, there he is. My name is Jing Hablang. It's been an absolute pleasure. Diego, take us home there, buddy.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna say how it happened tonight, but thank you once again for taking control after that. Yeah, thank you everyone for watching. So glad you could join us here for episode number 14 of the Vincent Football Show. It's been 14 episodes. That is incredible, and yeah, we have a lot of footballing action coming right up in the PFL. So do stay tuned and watch all the games. I believe Jing already said all of our names. So thank you once again for tuning in. And yeah, see you guys on the field.